Hello there. This is MD. Here with you on SaskiYano. Here we go again. We are in a new After Effects tutorial. In this tutorial, you're going to get a quick tour of the After Effects interface and learn how to customize it to fit your needs. So this is the After Effects interface. And at first glance, you're going to see a lot of things that may be a little bit overwhelming, a little bit confusing. What do all these buttons and switches do? Don't panic. There's a lot of things here that can be very distracting, but quite honestly, when you're learning, you don't have to know what every single button and switch does. As long as you follow along with what I'm doing in the course, you're gonna learn lots of stuff. And most of these things are gonna pick up along the way. One of the goals in this lesson is to show you how you can customize this interface. After Effects is one of those programs where screen real estate is very precious, and you'll often find that you'll be working on a particular thing and there's just not enough room to do what you want to do. So you are going to have to move some of these panels, which are what these windows are. You're going to have to move some of them around. You may have to get rid of some of them and bring them back at some later date, just to fit your work style and your particular screen size. So what you're seeing here on your screen is a collection of panels. Some of them are individual panels, like this composition panel, and some of them are arranged in a group, like all of these panels over here. This whole arrangement of all of these panels is called a workspace, and it's very customizable. For example, you might have already seen, as I move my mouse between two panels, I will get a double arrow tool, which allows me to resize both of the panels. At the same time, the same thing happens when I move it between two panels that are vertically arranged here. I got another double arrow, so I can rearrange all of these panels at the same time. If I hover my mouse over where multiple panels meet in the corner, I get up 4-arrow tool here. And now I can move both horizontally and vertically at the same time. Now before I go any further, I want to make sure that you are seeing exactly what I am seeing with this arrangement of panels, which is called a workspace. To make sure you have the same workspace selected, come up here to Window, Workspace, and make sure you have Default selected. Now if it is selected, make sure you click Reset Default to save layout. And that's going to rearrange some of the sizes of the panels. So it should look something like this, very close to this. And you should be able to follow along with no problem. Now, as you may have noticed, there are some other workspaces available. Now you're not gonna have all of these, because a few of them, like the ones with my name on them, which I made special for me, you're not gonna have. But you will have things like minimal, motion tracking, paint, and small screen. Check out what minimal does. You can see in this workspace, well, it's pretty minimal. It gives you only the composition panel and the timeline panel. Now, if you have a small screen, you might find the small screen workspace a good place to start. That's very similar to the default workspace. This, by the way, is the workspace bar, which you can expand or make smaller. And you have some workspaces that are preset right up here that you can get access to. I'm just going to switch back to default because that's a good place to start. One of the things that you'll find when you're working in After Effects is that some of these panels you're just not going to be accessing a whole lot. If that's the case, then it makes sense to just get rid of them so that you can focus on just the panels that you need. So let's say, for example, you wanted to get rid of this Libraries tab. If you click on the Libraries tab, it will collapse, which is one of the features in this panel group here. But with the library panel selected, I'm gonna click on this little 3-line menu button here. And I can choose Close Panel. And that's going to get rid of the library panel altogether. Now I can bring it back by coming in here to Window and then choosing Library. And then I'll put it back pretty much where it was before. But for now, I'm going to close that panel. So we don't have to look at it. Then you may have noticed, if you are selecting a panel in this panel group, only the panel opens at a time. And that's because there's an option under panel group settings here. First, solo panels in stack. If you disable that, it's possible to open multiple panels at the same time. However, you can see the problem with this. In order to get to the panel that you need that's open, you need to do a lot of scrolling up and down or collapse panels in and scroll. It gets a little bit annoying. So for some cases, this option to solo panels in stack works really well. In other cases you might not like that. One of the things that I like to do is bring certain panels out into the interface and make it so they are available all of the time. And I don't have to expand and collapse them. To do that, it's very easy. If you click and drag any of these panels out of that panel group, you can see that the interface will immediately start highlighting drop zones, which indicate where that panel will snap to when you release your mouse. Now if I want this in its own panel window, I can dock it right here. I'll show you that one more time. I'll put this back here. I'll put it here. I'm gonna dock it to the right of this composition panel. And then it will be in its own panel window right here. And so now from working on text, I can have access to this character panel all the time. And I don't have to keep soloing this panel every time I want to make a change to the text. Now if I had another panel to this group, let's add the paragraph panel. It's very easy. I'm just gonna do the same procedure. But this time, when I click and drag it out of this panel group, I'm going to release it right in the center. And that will group this paragraph panel with this character panel. You can see by default, because these panels came from a panel group that was stacked in solo, to the default behavior for these panels is also stacked in solo. Now I actually don't prefer the character and paragraph panels to be in a stacked and soloed arrangement. I like them to be not stacked, so that they are in this tab arrangement right here. I find that handier. Now let's say you wanted to dock another panel on the bottom here. It's very easy. I'll just drag this tracker panel for example. And I'll dock it right to the bottom. Now that panel is available for me right here. And the character and paragraph panel are not going to collapse, and I can get to all of the little buttons and controls here all the time. Now another option I wanted to show you really quickly is that you can undock some of these panels. So right under the menu of any one of these panels is undock panel. And when you do, that create a floating panel. And you can take this panel. And while you could leave it floating, but I don't really find that super useful. You can move it onto another screen. And so you can take this one panel and move it onto, let's say, a second monitor. Or you can create a whole panel group full of different panels that you find useful and moved on to a second monitor. And that will free up your what's a primary monitor for the most useful panels. Now once you've settled on a workspace that you like, it makes sense to save it. So you can come up here to Window, Workspace, and then just choose Save New Workspace. You can name it, and then it will be available here. You can switch back and forth between this one that says New MD and something like Small Screen. Now the reason why it doesn't show up on the workspace bar here is because you need to go to Edit Workspaces and just pull this up in the arrangement underneath the bar here so that it is visible, because our bar isn't big enough to where we could see that new workspace. But once I pulled it up, it's available right here. And so now you can very quickly go between the new workspace that you created and a different one. For now, I'm going to leave it on small screen. Finally, we are done for today. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and leave your comment down below in the comments section. Also, if you want to learn more, take a look at our first channel, Everything PS. See you next time. Bye.